Can you go ahead and start with roll call, please? Welcome again.
Commissioner Ben France,
Here.
Commissioner James Firstall,
Here.
Commissioner Samuel Ellis, Commissioner Cannon Fletcher, Commissioner Linda Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Mike Bernardo,
Here.
Commissioner Ron Barr, Commissioner Summer Campbell,
Here.
Commissioner Shamia Woods, Commissioner Quincy Grant, Commissioner Quentin Whiteside,
Here.
City Director Cappy Peck,
Here.
City Director Andrea Lewis, City Attorney Beth Carpenter.
Here.
We have 6 out of 11 commissioners present at this time.
That is a quorum.
Thank you, Mahogany. In your packets, you have the September meeting minutes. Can we get a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Summer approves. We have a second. Second. Not sure if that was Linda or Quentin, but one of those got there. Okay. Do we have any citizen communication? Anyone? I'm curious who are the people in the back. Can you introduce yourself? Do you work for the city or? Oh, staff. Okay. Great. Thank you all for joining us today.
They can't be heard.
What?
Can they say their names again for the record?
Yeah, sure.
Savannah Wells with Design, Parks and Rec.
Phyllis Muhammad.
Yolanda Rainey, Revenue Compliance Analyst.
Michaela Miller, Office Assistant.
Kendall Richardson, part-time front desk.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the reports for director's reports, staff reports, events. Before I hand it over to Leland, are there any questions on the staff reports that were provided to you via email prior to this commission meeting? Linda.
Yes. I saw that the grand opening of sorry, my mind just went blank on the correct name of it.
Jim Daly?
Jim Daly Fitness Center and Pool. What I was wondering is, has the attendance picked up? I know there were some regularly committed swimmers. Are they all returning? Is it fully utilized right now?
I'll be honest, we don't have any updated numbers to share. I can ask staff to report back on that. I do know that when we shut down the pool, there was some requests for additional pools to be used elsewhere, and we paid for members to go to Euler. And so I don't believe we lost, we didn't have a big fall off in our membership, thankfully. So I don't think there's going to be a big wave one way or the other, but I will ask staff to give us a report for next month.
Yeah, Mike?
Leland, concerning the safety reporting, is there any money in the budget for AED out at Canis next year?
So there's always funds in terms of our maintenance dollars. In terms of safety items like that, we don't have a line item for safety as we've discussed, but we'll have bond. If we pass the sales tax, we'll definitely have the funds to do it. So to answer your question directly. There's no funding for, just a line item for safety. We already, Perry, how many AEDs do we roughly have in our facilities? And that's roughly 12 of them. So, that's where we stand today on AEDs. Hopefully we'll have some new revenue. I didn't ask for, I only had 5 options to ask for a new budget for 2025 out just as a budget report, as a new budget request. And those were for golf in our senior programs facility here because we need staffing here. Those were our biggest items. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the staff? Brittany, how was all the events that have happened in October so far? Pretty well attended. Sorry if I put you on the spot.
Yes, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This on? So I'm gonna share some upcoming events as well as I wanted to highlight a very special event that happened at First Tee last weekend, the Par 3 for DIPG, which was organized by local families that have been afflicted by that form of brain tumor. So what they did is they had a family golf tournament there, and at 9 of the holes, each of the holes, they had a special activity at each hole. So in hole 1, they had a DJ dance party. At hole 2, they had Bits Razorback, where they painted bandanas. They had a food challenge at hole 3, a Dizzy Cartoon Hands, where they move back and forth on their golf carts with, I don't know. It was just a really great event. I encourage you to take a look at the First Tee Facebook page where you can see the event and then click onto that organization. They had like 75 pictures of these families and kids, and it was really outstanding. So that was their first year. I assume that they will be doing it again. Okay, coming up, quite a few things. October is that really busy time of year in Central Arkansas when the weather's beautiful. So we've got the Fall Fest at Southwest Community Center on the 26th. The MacArthur Military Museum will be taking part in the CVB's annual Big Boozeum bash for Halloween. So on next Thursday night from 5:30 to 8:30, participants can go to each of 13 locations, 14 locations to get stamps on a card to be entered to win a grand prize. And there will be activities and candy and costumes at each of those locations. And then that next weekend, the Paranormal Expo, the 13th annual Paranormal Expo will be at the Military Museum as well. We've got a volleyball tournament happening at Dunbar Community Center. Also at Southwest, before we meet again, there will be celebrating the Day of the Dead. I don't have all the information on that yet, but that is free and open to the public. And then our adult athletics program will be hosting its fall co-ed softball tournament at Interstate Park next Thursday as well. And the Stevens 40 and over men's basketball tournament will be at West Central Community Center next week. So a very busy time of year. We've got lots of activities happening for after school programs that I'm not listing because those aren't open to the public, but all of the after school participants will be enjoying trunk or treat activities and lots of other after school celebrations, including National Lights On after school program. And also Jim Daly Fitness and Aquatic Center on the 26th has a trick or treat splash event, which is free and open to the public at 3 p.m. So keep watching our city calendar. I'm putting all of those events that are open to the public on the city calendar. Yeah, any questions?
Thanks, Brittany. I don't have a question, but I do have one more event, and I think it's hard to talk about parks without talking about sustainability and everything that Keep Little Rock Beautiful is doing. And so the Friends of Fish Creek, there's a cleanup on October 26th. It is from 9 to 1. It's both a water and a land cleanup. Canoes and kayaks will be provided, or you can bring your own. And there, I don't know if this is on the parks website yet, but I can share it. It's on Keep Little Rock Beautiful. And if you haven't been to Fish Creek and you want to really see what the litter's like, just go. It's life changing, and it is just one of the most beautiful assets we have. But it'll change your world. I promise. You've seen it, you know. So October 26th, I hope a lot of y'all can come out to experience Fish and help clean it up.
Thank you, Cappy. And in that same vein, our volunteer program coordinator worked with many organizations, including CAM, the Central Arkansas Master Naturalist, and CATA, and hosted the event for National Public Lands Day at Rock Creek Trail, which reopened this month. And volunteers, there were over 114 volunteers that day, and we removed 3 tons of trash out of that trail and area. Over 3 tons.
3 tons.
That was a lot. So yeah, some great stuff going on. Let me know if you have any other questions.
Thank you. Any other questions for the staff before I turn over to Leland to talk about his board director agenda items and to talk about the new employees part? All right, Leland.
Good afternoon. Just wanted to share briefly. First, I just got back from Atlanta with some of my upper staff members. We participated in a National Parks and Recreation Conference for a week in Atlanta. This is a yearly conference that we attend as a small group of us go, and we go to education classes, and there's a major exhibit hall, and we find a lot of new programs, a lot of new products. And then we also spent some time and we visited Atlanta parks and went around. So we're always challenging ourselves to continue our education, and wanted to share that with you, and we'll be headed out to another one next year. So, and we also participated in the state conference, which was in Jonesboro, very similar, but obviously big difference between state and national for us. So going on to the agenda items, over the last month, I was able to take 2 things to the board for approval. One was the West Central Ball Field Complex, which is a funded project through ARPA funds of $1 million. It's a project to improve one field at West Central Community Center. And it was approved. So I took it to the board, and then it was approved by the board. So that's one project. And the other one that was taken to the board was the master plan for the I-30 Crossing Park, which is downtown, which is a new 15-acre park, which is being developed. The green space is being developed by the construction of a new I-30 crossing through downtown Little Rock. And so we were successful in hiring. We haven't finished the contract, let me say that, but we did finish the resolution approval. Bless you. Through for Sasaki and Associates. Sasaki and Associates did build out a team. They're a not nationwide, but national company here in the United States. But they also partnered with some local vendors, EDG and AMR and a few others that are local here. So I can share more information on those. And then something that will be upcoming that we plan to take to the board, the next meeting, is the Reservoir Road project. So we've been slowly still progressing at Reservoir Park, and we have a large, it's about $500,000 to $600,000 project to repave and rebuild all the road infrastructure in Reservoir Park. So that's our next big phase at Reservoir Park. And those are the big items that I have to share with the commission today. And then the new park employees, These are all new park employees back here that have already introduced themselves because Ben asked.
Sorry.
But some of them have been here for a little bit longer than others. They're all involved in some aspect of our administration, our front desk, and handling invoicing and all that good stuff. So we couldn't do it without them. So appreciate y'all being here today. And if there's any questions for them, we can go into that process. But that's all I have to share today at the moment.
I
Yes.
have a question. Leland, that's exciting about Reservoir Park. At the board meeting yesterday, Tad Bohannon pulled me aside about a controlled burn there.
Yes.
So that needs to happen.
So I will speak briefly to the control burn. We worked with CAW. I'm blanking on the gentleman's name right now that was a part of that. But we met with CAW several times when the tornado first happened. They brought to our attention very quickly that they wanted to try to do a control burn there. And we were requesting that they do a control burn across all of the park too. If you've been through Reservoir Park, there's a large metal fence that's been reinstalled. That's the separation between CAW's area that they control and then the park area. And so this recent communication from them was that because of the fence, they are not going to burn, or they are not going to offer to burn any of the park as the control burn. And so it's only going to be on CAW's property. And so I just said something to the fact of, we'll help in any way that we can, but we really don't want to be highly involved in it because we're not involved in it. And so that's where it stands.
But do we need a controlled burn in other parts of the park? Is that what you're saying?
We've tried to have controlled burns in other areas of parkland across the 6,000 different acres. I believe from a sustainability standpoint that it would be beneficial to have controlled burns. The challenge with controlled burns is that most of all of our land is abutting some kind of urban fabric of the city. And whenever we start a fire just to burn off debris, vegetation debris from a construction project or from a storm project, we often get a lot of calls from citizens complaining about the smoke and the smell and all this stuff. Obviously, we can't control where the smoke goes. You try to plan that in a controlled burn. The latest one that I tried to have was at Western Hills, and I wanted to burn off a bunch of the brush out on Western Hills from a sustainability standpoint, and we just never were able to get that to work. I think in some of our bigger areas we could. We talked about even doing Fush. You're talking about Fush today, but there's just a lot of challenges. And honestly, I think most people that I've talked to about control burning are used to doing control burns out in the middle of the national forest, and there's not a lot of, assets and housing and all that. So
I get that, but I still think maybe there would be a way to work with CAW just because where they're going to be burning is, right on Cantrell, near Leawood, near Reservoir. I mean, if they're going to be doing it and they need to do it anyway, he was cautioning me, you're going to probably get some angry emails and calls from people. But if we're going to be there doing it anyway, that I would love for us to coordinate a controlled burn if you think that's the best solution. And I've been all through Reservoir. I know it would be helpful.
Right, I would agree with that. The concern or my hesitation is that we are currently not managing the control burn or have any aspects of it. So when you say we are doing it, it's not, we have no involvement in it.
But we couldn't
I
partner?
asked the partner, and they said right now they did not want to do that because of the fence, and they didn't want to come into the reservoir. I can ask again.
I could help you ask.
Okay. Let's do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Put your microphone. You put your down. So
On the
people-
repaving of the road at Reservoir, how much of that is FEMA reimbursed?
I don't have the exact numbers, but it's all FEMA or insurance right now. We're not using any capital dollars, but we received roughly $800,000, I believe, in insurance for that location. And then we submitted a proposal from a company for, I think it was $2 to $3 million worth of improvements through FEMA. And so then we're working out of that, and FEMA's helping us on that aspect of it. So that's where we are.
Ask a follow-up on Reservoir.
Absolutely.
We were looking at possibly redesigning. Are you putting the road back in the exact same spot, or is it?
Great question. No, we're not.
Good.
There's some changes. So, I mean, this could get into a detailed discussion and we could have a map for it or whatnot. But in general, yes, it's going back. There is a section of road that was rediscovered or reopened because it was closed. It was, you know, if you know it, if you know the area, you know what I'm talking about. We do plan to eliminate that completely. We're not going to have that cut through anymore. The area where it turns into one way, we talked about changing it to two-way through there. But that gets into, there's a fine line of when you turn into developing and need capital dollars and doing something new. So our funds that we have through FEMA and insurance is really just to repair, replace what we have. So we're not doing the one-way change, which would help with some challenges there. But that weird turn right there after the one-way, if you're going north out of Leawood.
Yeah, that hairpin.
Right, where you have kind of a blinded turn. We are shortcutting that, and we're gonna blaze a new turn through the woods right there. So it still has a turn because we appreciate having the turns to slow traffic and not have a speed route through there, but not to have that weird turn there. And I think everything else is roughly staying the same, but we are repaving everything. There's a little additional parking lot back there by the pavilion that's an extra on CAW side by the fence. That's an extra 30 or 40 feet deep. I think we planned on cleaning that up and making that more of an official parking lot, stuff like that. But yeah.
Cool. I was just curious. And then the 15 acres, that the sort of new green space where the on and off ramps used to be between
Correct. It's
Third and whatever that is.
second
whatever. Yeah.
goes through it, and River Market, and it's in that whole area where it's all, if you drive down there now, it's all open green space.
Right.
It's there, the RDOT's almost finished, or the contractor's almost finished on our side.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for Leland? Thanks for the information on the updates for the board directors meeting. The next item on the agenda is we talked about, getting a presentation about the community center projects. They've been a lot of work throughout multiple community centers over the past couple of years. We wanted Justin Dorsey to speak about it. He's out today, but I think Leland's going to talk more about it. He's got a short presentation to talk about it, and then kind of go from there. Looks like there it is.
Okay, so just because of timing, Justin was sick, and so we talked about not having this, but we know that there's probably going to be another request for a presentation next month, and so I'm involved in these just as much as anybody, and so he prepared this presentation. I tweaked it, and Mahogany has figured out a way to do it through WebEx off of my laptop through something over there. So hopefully this works, and we can go through this. So if you'll go to the next slide. So these are ARPA funds. These are funds that we received from the board. I don't know the exact year. Back in 21, 22, we received over $6 million that was dedicated from the board. So that $6 million breaks out to be $3 million for a senior facility, $1 million for West Central Ball Field Complex, which I just spoke about how we're moving forward on that, and $2 million in general for community centers. So we've spoken before where we have 5 community centers. We picked 4 community centers because West Central was recently built in 2016-17. So we felt like 2 million would go farther at 4 locations, with the concept of roughly breaking that into $500,000 increments across those community centers. But you'll see more as I go through the presentation. Next slide. These, not to be confusing, go back one, please. Not to be confusing here, this is some additional ARPA project funds that I received. So the city obviously received a lot of different ARPA funds. 6 million was the original push to parks. This was some additional funds that were handled by city board directors, and you know, that's how they got the funds to us. The $875,000 was dedicated to junior deputy, and junior deputy ball field complex is on city property, which we lease back to junior deputy. So we had $875,000. We had worked with a contract with Musco Sports Lighting, and they installed all new lighting at the ball field complex. It was a detailed project in terms of making sure we could fit all the different ball field aspects there for junior deputy, but it ended up being a great project. And the $750,000 one there is the master plan that I just mentioned that I took to the board last month. So those are all our ARPA funds. That's how those projects were funded. It's just another thing that we've had to manage in park. So next slide.
Can you tell us what ARPA is again, just so that?
American Rescue Plan Act. So it's federal COVID relief funds through the federal government. So I think the city, well, I don't want to say because I don't know exactly, but I think they received over, you know, $20 million roughly. I shouldn't even say that. I think it's more than that, but this is what I know from what I was given from the board. So I briefly mentioned $3 million for the senior facility. Just have some highlights here in terms of each project. We hired Polk Stanley and Half to do a design, and that facility, senior facility, will be at this location. I believe I've discussed it a few different times here. And so we can get into any detailed discussions at the end of this, and we can come back. I think the next slide is just showing the layout of that facility. Next slide. So this is a small slide here just showing there's 4 pickleball courts planned for this location. And then the addition, we do have finalized construction plans for this. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to go through all that today, so I don't have that here. But we have interior renderings of what this facility will look like. It has a new therapeutic pool that will be added between here and the parking lot in that addition. And so we can go through some details on that. The next one is West Central Ball Field Complex. This project, so I said we had $1 million. I added a little bit of money to that because the bid came in just a little bit. So that 1.04, go back to the right here. That's the with contingency for Bradford. Just if you could stay right here, that'd be great. So Crafton Toll was the design company. We'll be building a brand new 250-foot ball field there. And Bradford is the successful bid, and Musco Lights are there as well. So it's going to end up being almost a $1.3 million project when it's all said and done. That gives you an idea of what facilities for ball field complexes cost for us today. Next slide. Dragging. Okay, sorry. That's part of doing what we're doing. This is just a quick rendering showing the improvements there. The backdrop is going to be something new and neat for us, which will be netting instead of fencing. Allows for great views and access to the ball field. This will not be artificial turf. It'll be all natural. Dirt infield, obviously, but everything will be brand new. This will be setting the standard for our West Central Ball Field Complex. And with the hope that with the sales tax passing, we'll have the funds in that sales tax to renovate all the ball fields. So we'll have a whole brand new complex there at West Central. Next slide. This is just a list of the 4 community centers. Next slide. At Stevens Community Center, so what we did was we hired a consultant to go and look at every community center, all 4 of them early on. We did a whole design process, and some of them came up with, like East Little Rock came up with over $6 million worth of improvements because we looked at the outside and we did a master plan. It really depended on the assets that each community center has. So if you know Stevens is attached to a local school there. And because of that, we really have a small, complex here. So what we did at Stevens was we said, go in there and we need to, the biggest thing, and you can see the list of items there is what we're doing. But the biggest thing was let's resurface the gym floor, paint things, fix the roof, new HVAC, items like that. Those are the big items here at Stevens. So it's more of just an upgrade to the existing facility there. Next slide. So East Little Rock, we hired EDG and they hired these other consultants along with them. And we really went through a process of a complete master plan. You can see the cost estimate at $5.1 million. So we have a really cool design for this whole facility here. This is a community center that was built and really active in the 1970s. And is not active now. It was shut down from the city. The board shut it down in 2006, roughly, and it's just been kind of used for odd and ends over the many, many years. I have a vision to utilize this for special events to help offset the new senior facility that will be planned. Will be located here. And so we started with this whole design. We ended up picking out a few items, which is in that description there, which is gym floor, painting, lights, a lot of demolition of a lot of old outstanding buildings and an old swimming pool. And so the bid came in at just over $500,000. And so that's the plan for East Little Rock. Next slide. And by the way, Stevens and East Little Rock are both under construction as we're speaking. Southwest, same kind of concept, but we hired Cromwell to do this design. So we looked through the whole facility. Southwest has our one and only outdoor pool for community centers. And so this has a lot to do with the pool. Is in that 1.5, we were able to pull out these items, which is really heavily focused on gym floor, lights, air conditioning, all just the kind of the meat and butter, bread and butter, the potatoes, whatever you want to say, of the facility. Sorry. So the bid was $647,000, and we are finalizing contract, or actually we have a pre-construction meeting out there next week. Next slide. And our last one here is Dunbar, and you can see the cost estimate was $2.8 million. This facility is one of our oldest ones as well, and it needs a lot of help. The biggest issues that we had there were roof, so we really focused heavily on the roof. We've already completed a phase 1 roof renovation because it was really leaking into the facility, and that was $134,000. What we'll do is, as some of the contingencies are lower or higher in the other facilities, we'll be able to accomplish more at Dunbar. Some of the other ones just came online faster, and so we still plan on spending roughly $500,000 at Dunbar. But as you can see here, most of that's going to be in the roof. I hate to say that because nobody's going to see the roof, but it's just not the right thing to do is to do improvements downstairs when we have a roof that is leaking that bad. So again, these are just little stabs at bigger problems that we have. Next slide. So this is just a quick slide showing that out of $2 million that we were funded out of ARPA funds, we added up all the needs that were from all the engineers and everybody. We have roughly $10 million. So we need to come up with another $8 million just to get to our head above water at these community centers. This is not adding anything really that new in any of them other than East Little Rock, just because it's so far behind. And hopefully that will be accomplished in our sales tax. I do have $8 million in the sales tax for community centers. So that ends my slideshow presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
That was fantastic. Thank you for that overview. Mike?
As usual, I have the pickleball question. So as they're doing all these multi-sport floors, I hope they are including pickleball lines.
Right. Great question, Mike. So yes, when they're resurfacing the courts at the different community centers, yes, there's new lines for pickleball. In fact, we were at Southwest reviewing it just recently, and we were discussing that. But we do need to, I'll make sure that we have that noted again, just so it doesn't get dropped off. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Quentin?
What's the most popular community center and do you know like kind of average attendance or obviously it's not East Little Rock, right? But
No, so East Little Rock is not. But so that's a great question. When I first became director, obviously I've been here for a long time in terms of parks, but I was never that heavily involved in community centers. Sue, who's been here for over 50 years, that's a joke, 40 something years, but probably could answer that question better. But what's interesting about our community centers are that I originally wanted to not have them so siloed and have them more like, okay, well, we're going to have this program there, we're going to have it at the other ones. I quickly figured out that that was not a good idea to try to do that, and that all of these are very siloed because of the neighborhoods that they're actually in and the people that the user groups of these facilities. So Southwest has a certain user group, whereas West Central is something else. All of our programs vary a little bit. So Brittany is filling in for our data coordinator because our data coordinator position is empty.
Comes in at 35,000 annually attendance. And then Stevens. So in order, Southwest roughly 35,000 a year last year. Then Stevens at 30,000, Dunbar at 25,000. Then the senior programs at East Little Rock had 20,000. The center here had 20,000, and West Central had 20,000.
What does that number represent?
Annual attendance, bodies on the door.
Jim Daly on there, she didn't mention it, was over 100,000.
just a follow-up to that. When you were talking about the junior deputy ball fields and the
Yes.
lights, I saw that, is Episcopal having their, are they renting some of that space out from the city or how's that?
Yeah, right. So, good question. So we had a lease through with Junior Deputy. They did come to us and they said, we're trying to raise funds for improvements at our facility. That's how I'm assuming the conversation got started about the ARPA funds. You'd have to ask Director Webb that question, or maybe Director Gappy has some more information on that of how that got funded. But I know that they were also at the time talking to Episcopal about, hey, they get some funds from Episcopal. I don't know that exact arrangement because that's through them. But so that Episcopal arrangement was not through the city. We just managed the lease through all of the ground, all the amenities on the ground are all managed by Junior Deputy. They're not our actual assets.
Are they allowed to sublease it? If they are subleasing it?
Well, that's at that point we need to review the contract. Yeah.
I'm not asking for you to do that. I was just wondering.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just don't want to speak to it because, I mean, we have a major lease and contract, and Beth could probably say without having the contract in front of me, it's not appropriate probably to say what's one way or the other, but we could definitely look into that.
You could look into it, though.
Yeah. Thank you. Linda?
So, Brittany, were those 2023 numbers? Okay, so that's last year, and you had 20,000 here while essentially it's closed?
I think was that for the senior? I believe she said senior programs.
It's really only meetings have been going on here.
That's right.
No programming.
Brittany, can you go to the podium? Can't hear you.
She was just saying the majority of that was in the second quarter of 2023. But you're right. This facility has been closed for a couple of years for the board meetings and because of COVID and all kinds of things. And the board meeting now, just if the public's listening, has moved back to City Hall. Same with the Planning Commission meeting. We're still having our meetings here. We're bidding the construction phase of this here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. And then based on that, we hope to start construction here first of next year. So we might have to find another location for ourselves. And then once that construction is finish, this will be back open, just to give it a little bit more information on this facility.
Just for the sake of time, I'm gonna probably end this presentation now and move on to unfinished business. Thanks, Leland, for
Okay, thank you all very much.
presenting. That was really good. Thank you. Does anyone have questions on unfinished business? I was just gonna lay it out there. If you don't, I'm gonna move on to new business. We have a lot to talk about in new business. But if anyone wants to bring up any questions or comments from unfinished business, please do that now. If not, we'll move on to new business. Okay, let's move on to new business. We've got 6 items here, and I think the bulk of it, we'll be talking about the sales tax because we're less than a month out from the election. But first I want to talk about, does any of the subcommittees have reports? It's okay if you don't. I think, yeah.
So for master plan, what I'm wanting to do, and just for those of you that are on that committee, you feel free to speak up, but I'm wanting to have that either before or after our next Parks Commission meeting in November, which will be after Election Day. So I think it's better to wait until after Election Day because the conversation could obviously go 2 completely different directions. What I'm envisioning is not really to make Leland get a presentation together in such a short period of time, but really more just to have a general discussion and outline what we want that committee to look like moving forward, and get started on more frequent meetings. So that being said, for those of y'all on that committee, do you prefer before or after? It's irrelevant to me. Okay, well, we'll just say after, and then we'll get whatever notices we need to get done. Should be plenty of time to get that done.
Yes, you can work with the Parks Department. They will get the required notice out.
Any other subcommittee reports? Okay. The new commission ideas for 2025, this has been on our new business for the past 2 times. I kind of want to table it until after the election. I think that could change based on the election results. And I kind of want to just focus on the election because that's kind of what the main current event going on in parts. So with that, Mahogany, if you can just table that to next month, if that's okay. The sales tax initiative, I just kind of wanted to open it up just to dialogue. What are you guys hearing? I mean, I'm not seeing a lot on any forms of social media or signs or billboards. I'm just curious what everyone's seeing about sales tax. I think this has been France talking, not the chair of sales. I think it's a coin flip to me. It's going to pass. I don't know what you're hearing, Director Peck, but we'd love just to have a dialogue before we get into action items for the parts.
I can give you an update on the campaign. A considerable amount of money has been raised privately to push this. And I, like a lot of my colleagues on the board, have been wondering, when is it going to start? Because the election is in, 20 days? Is that right?
Next week for early voting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the holiday, I think it was supposed to drop Saturday or Monday, the holiday. I think the big massive mailers and television advertising will start. I mean, we all ought to have a mailer at home today. So there is a big concentrated effort. A lot of this is thanks to the Chamber of Commerce, 50 for the Future, and other individuals and businesses who feel very strongly about this. The buzz on the street, I'm hearing, I mean, either people absolutely want it or absolutely don't want it.
Yeah.
My fear is that it's such a already contentious, divisive election. And my fear is people will just go in and vote for their presidential choice and then walk out. It's a little bit confusing because there are actually 2 votes, the 3/8 and the 5/8.
Yep.
So that's just a big education piece. But the people running that campaign are very smart and savvy. There will be a lot of social media. And I honestly think in the next 24 to 48 hours, we're going to see it and then we're going to be bombarded with
Who's
it.
running it, the campaign?
I don't know if I'm supposed to say.
Okay, don't worry about it. That's fine.
Okay.
Hey, Mike.
So I'll just note, the ballot itself doesn't provide any detail at all. So it just says 3/8 for operations, 5/8 for capital. The people that I've been talking to, they don't know what it is. And by default, it's no new tax. You know, so once you explain what it is, and of course, we have all kinds of educational materials, but a lot of people don't want to go look for that. So if they don't intuitively hear it from somewhere, then I'm afraid they're going to get to the ballot and say, what's this tax? And I think their default's going to go against us, but just my thoughts.
I'd like to ask Cappy if, you know that there's two lines, is my understanding. There's going to be one for a vote for 3/8 and one for 5/8. Is that correct?
Correct.
My understanding is if one doesn't pass, then the whole thing doesn't pass. Is that correct? Do you know?
I don't know the answer.
This is the first I heard that it's actually two different
Yeah, I just-
items.
Mhm.
Just
It's really confusing. I mean, to be totally honest, you know, I wanted to wait until May just because of the election, and it is complicated, and it's always easier to get things passed in a special election, you know, a one-item
Yeah.
thing. But, you know, I mean, I kind of tend to be the eternal optimist, and you know, my thought is even if it doesn't pass, there's nothing that says we can't go for a May election with a single issue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way we passed the Restore Robinson campaign, and I mean, so many others. You know, that's something that, you know, Bobby Roberts, when he was at Cal's, he always went for the special election. So I don't know. It just looks, it's going to be a long ballot, and I don't know. Again, I'm the eternal optimist, and I hope that the campaign helps people who are either on the fence or do not understand the impact that this could make in the city. I just hope that it's effective. And it was deliberate to wait this long to do it.
So you're
The
saying
campaign.
on the sample ballot that's online, you've seen it and it's nothing, no explanation.
No, it's very, I mean, I have that, I have it if anybody wants to see it, but it's one, so the 3/8 for operations within Little Rock. I don't know
How did that slip by? I mean, that just seems crazy to me because, yeah, you're absolutely right. If they don't know what that's for, it's a no.
Right. I mean, if it would have at least had like the 4 Ps or something, I think it would have been.
Where is that
resonated.
on? Is that in the city of Little Rock, or is it, did you just Google it?
Get on the county's website.
Oh, the Pulaski County, yeah.
I haven't seen the ballot. I don't
You
know.
can go to Vote Pulaski. I just text Kendra that question, and she said one could technically pass and the other could fail.
Yeah, there was an article today in the paper. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's an organization that's against the sales tax. That Arkansas Community Organizations has come out against the sales tax. So, I mean, there's going to be a group that's opposed it, which is fine, but any other dialogue or anything before we get into the kind of letters of support? Yeah.
I got this little pin here at Harvest Fest, and it's a good thing to wear because people will ask you about it. And that gives me a chance to talk to people about the sales tax.
What's it say? I'm just having,
It says, invest a penny for the results for the rock.
was there like a 10 at Harvest Fest that
Yes,
specific for sales tax?
yes.
Okay, cool.
You have any more pens?
This is the only one I have. April Jackson gave it to me.
Going to letters of support, I've written 2 letters. One that would be letters to the Democrat Gazette. In an email I sent you guys, I put in a link that you can send a personal editorial letter as a member of the Parks and Recreation letter to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. I hope you guys will write a letter supporting the sales tax and why it's good for the city. I've written a personal letter that I'm going to submit. I've also written a letter that's on behalf of the commission itself. And I've got it here, Beth. Sorry.
Yes. Yes.
I've got a letter that I was going to present here. If there needs to be a change, if someone doesn't agree with it or the grammar sucks, like what, can it later be approved?
Do you have a copy of the letter?
I've got-
Was it handed out to all of the commissioners?
Yeah.
I would suggest that all of the commissioners at the meeting today receive a copy of the letter and have a quick chance to review it. And then you can call for motions to approve.
But what if they're like, line 8 is not very good, or like, what do we have to change some of it?
There could be a suggestion or a motion to change.
It has to be done here?
Yes.
Okay, so we can't do it.
No,
They read it tonight and they say, hey,
There's-
Ben,
this would have to be done in a regular business meeting or a specially called meeting for this purpose.
I can't email it out and they,
No.
okay. Well, just if you can kindly read it. I've caught some grammar errors already, so I did it last night. But
I move that the commission approve this letter with minor grammatical changes and submit it with all of our signatures attached.
What are the changes?
Second paragraph, second sentence, and there's an extra T.
I mean, let me go back. If you guys think a personal letter is more effective, we don't have to have this letter from the board. It's up to us. I just wanted, I think the more the merrier. I mean, if it's personal from Linda and personal from me or personal from Mike, and then we do it as a group. I'm not a PR expert, so I just, yeah.
Is that all of the changes that you have, Commissioner Smith?
That's all I've seen. If anyone else has got anything else.
When you say a signature, do we have to sign it today? Or does it?
Well, the letter would need to be corrected with whatever amendments or
Yeah.
corrections would need to be made, and then
I would like someone from, I just want to make sure not only grammar, but this is accurate as far as everything I talk about. So, and if it's too late, we can just do personal. I know I sprung this.
I don't mind doing this, and it'd be fine with me, and I'm happy to sign it. But to me, individual letters are more impactful.
Yeah.
Because when people see blanket from this group with all these signatures, you never really know who wrote it, or if they just rubber stamped it, or what, if everybody really believes that.
following Robert's Rules of Order, there is a motion on the floor.
I mean, I know there's a motion, but can we talk about this first?
Well, there's a motion, and you would need to have a second to the motion and then discussion, if you're strictly following Robert's Rules. of Order.
Okay.
If there's no second, then it goes away.
If there's no second, the motion fails.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I second it.
Okay. So,
Now you can talk.
okay. I talked to a PR expert that, not to be named, I'm not going to name him, but he said, to JT's point, like a personal letter is more effective. I wanted to go ahead and write this if this is something that we wanted to do. I don't want to just spring it on you guys without, 5 minutes of looking over it. So I'm open to whatever you guys think. I'm more inclined favoring with JT, and I want hopefully all of us to hopefully write a letter and submit it.
While I agree with JT's point and your point as well, I think we have a better chance of getting published in the paper if it's from a group. I mean, the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, the way I understand it, I've never worked there, but they get a ton of letters all the time. And I mean, some people, I'll come up to some people and say, hey, I saw your letter to the editor. And they're like, I wrote that 5 months ago.
Really?
And so, you know, they don't even know we got published because it was on Random Tuesday. So I think, you know, this letter at this length is good to be from the whole commission, just to show that, you know, the commission of the Parks and Rec support what the, you know, the mayor has put forward and the city board has put forward.
Hey, Mike.
So my opinion is I kind of align to JT as well, but if we were to send this letter, I would probably move to strike paragraph 5 because it's got a very personal tone to it and that doesn't kind of sound right with multiple signatures. And it kind of aligns the parks to focuses on kids, but I think there's a whole lot of adult usage of our parks. So I think that's
Yeah, I guess I was just trying to be a little more specific in what the park program does. But if you guys think it's more personal, I'm fine with striking it.
Commissioner Smith, do you want to amend your motion to strike, is it paragraph 5? As well as correcting grammatical errors?
You can't have an I paragraph if it's a we.
I agree.
Yeah, that was,
Yes, I am agreeable to strike paragraph 5.
is there a second?
Second.
Paragraph 5 is, we need to vote on it? Or can we just, is it strike?
If discussion is, if you're finished with your discussion, you can call for all those in favor with the motion, the amended motion.
Okay. All those in favor of approving this commission letter, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
And that would be with the correcting any grammar errors
Yeah.
as well as striking paragraph 5.
Tell me about, do we have to have signatures? I'm just from a logistics standpoint.
And usually the chair of the commission in the past is
Okay.
the letters that go out on behalf of the commission.
And, okay. I will strike paragraph 5 and then change that grammatical error, and then I'll sign it on behalf of the commission. Any other questions? Sales tax related, letters related?
I just have a comment. It is so helpful to have the presentation we had today with the ARPA funds for me to understand where different pots of money are coming from and the improvements that we can make and the tremendous need to see almost $10 million identified for the community centers, and we have 2 million. Those are the kinds of important facts that I think we can talk about now, because I can go out and really say, you know, we could do the roof, but we couldn't do more. And that's what the sales tax will help us with. And I think those kind of specific items really show the community that we make good use of the funds that we receive in parks. And Leland and his staff are doing a great job, but the maintenance just continues to pile up. And so I think, Leland, it's been so helpful this year to me to see the type of reports we're getting, the more in-depth reports, to really show us different centers and different programs that we have and the needs that are there. And that's what, to me, parks and the community support is all about. So thank you.
Let's move on. Okay. Let's move on to the next agenda item, the dashboard. Mike, is this something you wanted to bring up?
and because of time, I would.
You want to defer to next month?
That to next month.
Okay. All right. And then the next agenda item is social media subcommittee name change.
Mr. Chair, you have in your packet a proposed amendment to the Parks Commission bylaws. In Article 7, appointment of committees, changing the name from outreach, social media to marketing. And according to the bylaws, to amend the bylaws, the proposed change to the bylaws needs to be submitted at a regular business meeting, which would be this one, and voted on at the next regular business meeting, that would be November.
Okay.
Today we vote.
Yeah.
Right. So submitted today, voted, to be voted on in the next meeting in November.
So having this in new business, is that submitting it?
Pardon me, say that again?
Having this in new business, is that submitting it?
Yes, yes, that is submitting it.
Okay. Okay. So we're okay. Thank you. Any under, I guess, next item is agenda items for next meeting. I think we're going to talk about 2025 commission ideas, and then Mike's going to talk about the dashboard. Any other thing that we want to see next month, whether it's presentations or new business?
We're talking about spending some money.
Yes, for sure.
Well, we won't get it all at once, just in a few passes. We'll either be having a party or reorganizing.
I have a couple of items to share.
Yeah.
So going along with what Linda said, just I'll leave this up to y'all to decide, but there's also another big group of funds that we're using or utilizing right now, which are bond funds. And so if you ever wanted staff to report out on what we're utilizing the bond funds for, that was a citywide vote where we received a lot of funds, and we've already spent $6 million of it. So we're allocating for next year. And then the one other thing that I wanted to ask the commission is Brittany here is starting, we've been wanting to get this started for a while, and we've just had a lot of other things to get caught up on in terms of marketing and social media without doing it for 6 years. But we're at the point where we were ready to start our newsletter. We have an idea that we'd like for y'all's input into that. And so our thought process is at the end of each meeting, we could just quickly say, what are the top 3 things that we gathered from this meeting that we think are relevant for the citizens or residents to hear? And so if y'all would be willing to do that, just to say, well, we thought it was this, this, and this, and Brittany would take that and run with it and add those to our newsletter with maybe some other stuff that we wanted to add in there. So that's all I have.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Linda said earlier. You guys are doing a great job with the funds, and the presentations we get, they sort of get siloed away in the website, sort of buried down. And I'd almost say those presentations, if you're doing a newsletter, those should go out with it so that people can actually see the 10 million of, needs and 2 million of spending, and, sort of, I think it would be impactful. Because I think that those presentations you guys have done this year, everybody, they've really been the best part of the meetings to me. I mean, we're learning a lot and able to hopefully help you all going forward. So
do we want to discuss the top 3 items for Brittany? Let's just do the presentation, I think, about the ARPA funds, number 1.
Your main focus should be sales tax.
True.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
You might highlight the. Take it up.
What? When are you, I'm sorry if I missed this, but when are you planning on sending this out? After each commission meeting? Is it monthly? Okay. Were you going to be using like emails from the marathon and other emails that have been signed up?
Brittany, can you go
Sorry.
to the mic?
Okay.
Brittany, can you go to the mic to answer his questions? Thank you.
Yeah, so the question was what database would be using to send out the newsletter. I have about 40 pages of handwritten names and emails from sign-in sheets and tabling and the Eclipse that need to be data entry logged, and the team at the Marathon Division, once they get done with Creep and Crawl, which is this Saturday, by the way, I forgot to say Creep and Crawl this Saturday at Two Rivers. They're going to help me with that data entry. So we have a small list of already opted in people that have shared interest over time. And then we'll probably do a larger opt-in campaign with some of our other customer databases.
Great. Thank you.
Brittany, you might also consider anyone who has ever signed up to be a volunteer. I know you have a pretty big volunteer database.
That's a big list. So yeah, they'll be included in the opt-in campaign. Essentially send it out once and like give them the opportunity to unsubscribe.
Brittany, while I have you up there, I know you and I talked about it after the last meeting, but I just wanted to get it out here on the commission notes, I guess. That I made a suggestion to Brittany that we create a parks directory, whereas today we seem to have a lot of lists of parks and what's at each park. But I think it would be great for us to have a list of features and then where all those features are at. So I threw that out there for her consideration. I just want to let the commission know that.
I'll add to that. And I know we're running over time, but we've already been working not exactly on that, but as everybody runs around and says, we have 63 parks, right? Well, what are those 63 parks? And we always have this long list of locations. Perry has been helping me and other staff, and we're actually categorizing those parks into large regional parks, neighborhood parks, natural areas, and we're really identifying what are our actual real parks. And I know it sounds crazy, like, hey, we're talking about this in 2024. We've been associated for so many years. But when you look at, say, something like Resmond Park Road, and you have Resmond Golf Course, and you have Murray, and you have the Big Dam Bridge and all that, is that 3 parks or is that 1 park? And so that's what we're really trying to define, even down to like this facility here at University Park. You have the center. Maybe some of you didn't even know it's called University Park, but this University Park has the center and Resmond Tennis Center. So is that 2 or 3 or 1 location? Anyway, we're working on defining that, and we'll present that to y'all when we have that finalized.
So you're saying we might have 83 parks?
Actually, it looks like we might have a few more, but a lot of them are natural areas. There's about 11 or 13 that are actually truly natural areas. So a natural area is any piece of property that is considered a park area, but has no amenities in it. And so we're going to define those as natural areas. So like Taylor Loop Park is not going to be called Taylor Loop Park. It's just a natural area under Parks and Recreation, because there is physically nothing there from a standpoint of a park. But that's to be defined and ongoing. Probably something we'll come out with next year. So
To Mike's point, City of Tulsa was dealing with, we did a lot of work for them this last summer, and they were dealing with that on expanded from like 6 pickleball courts to I think 38 or 40 now that we did. And people didn't know, and so they were doing the same thing, scrambling. Okay, where can we tell people where there's basketball courts or pickleball or playgrounds or, same thing. I mean, it's historically you always just had the list of names and not the features, and sort of, making it go AC/DC for people.
we have worked on an asset list. We need to continue to work.
It's very good. The one that I saw.
And then Brittany's been working on our website and under our list of, and that's kind of where we started with this naming thing as well. Is wow, there's this long list of parks on our website, and a lot of them aren't defined. What are those things? So now we'll be able to actually categorize on the website. These are neighborhood. I'm coming to town, or I live in town. I want to go to a neighborhood park. You click on neighborhood parks. Whereas right now it's just 60 names, and you just pick what you want. So, and then within that, we're defining the assets. So eventually Canis Park would list, here's all the things. Some of them already we've started on those, the ones that get more requests. Anyway, I know again, we're over time, so that's another discussion, but.
And that's the last thing I'd bring up. I think the meetings are too short. We're always rushed at the end. So we
Say
either,
that again, I'm sorry.
we're always rushed at the end. I think the meeting's either too short or we have to chop something else, which we've already compressed the staff reports into a quick. It just feels like there's not enough time.
So in your
starting
subcommittee
15
meetings,
early and ending 15 later.
subcommittee, sorry if I cut you off, but in the master plan meeting, that could be where we discuss more about the naming of parks and the assets and the list and stuff like that. You know, and the newsletter would be more defined in like social media and marketing and stuff like that. Just saying there are some other options there.
Director Peck, it's all you.
I've already done my,
Are you sure?
well, I could go on, but it's, 1:10.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And next couple of weeks, please be focused on promoting the sales stats. And I plan to send a recap email, hopefully this week, and just summarizing what we talked about. I think it's just good for us to keep in mind because I sometimes forget, that we should be doing more than just meeting once a month, and we should be go out there and touting our parts, and especially the sales stats. So just remember to publicize your support for the sales stats. And hopefully we'll have some good news in a couple of weeks and we can celebrate.
When's the next meeting? 13th.
Yes, the 13th.
Yeah, and Brittany, did you mention the upcoming openings of Boyle and Pankey? Okay. Well, stay tuned. We're on the cusp of finalizing dates. We have final dates, but we wanted to make sure they work. And so before we share it to the public, but we'll have in roughly 2 weeks, grand openings at Boyle and Pankey Park. And those are some great new projects. And Boyle in particular has mountain biking and brand new, really awesome playground. In fact, I'm going out there this afternoon to review it. So stay tuned. We'll share some dates. Mahogany will send those out to the commission. And appreciate your attendance if you can make it. Thank you.
All right.
Let me add, y'all will get an email invitation to those, but one date is confirmed, the 29th, Tuesday, the 29th at 5 o'clock. There's going to be a press conference celebrating the new lighting at Junior Deputy Ball Fields. And then we'll be out there, staff will be out there talking about the sales tax.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Mhm.
Gavel. I guess not. Leave.